Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast.
Hello, Nest listeners. Welcome back for another episode. That was a frustrating Sunday. It really just didn't materialise, I think, the way that we all thought it would during the week at Giants Stadium. And I'm sure you're all still feeling the effects of it. For the club you love on this Monday at the time of recording, we'll bring out the episode a little bit earlier for you this week, and we'll try and break it down for you, just all your emotions, where you're feeling, where the team got things wrong, and then look ahead to the game with the Bombers, give you your Nest medal votes as well. Drew Jones is the man to do it alongside me, Daniel Garb. Hello, Drewza. How are you feeling on the Monday after the Eagles lost another one on the road?
Hey, Garby. Yeah, I probably feel a little better. My emotions have leveled out, I think, as yours have as well. I guess the toughest thing was the expectation that we went in with off the back of some good form. Giants really respectable so far this season, particularly the last month or so with the way they've coped with injuries, but are probably a team that we expected to beat. So I guess armed with that expectation to have that kind of performance get trotted out sort of left a bad taste in the mouth, a bit flat. And unfortunately, I get so sick of the struggles on the road narrative, which is so easy to trot out about West Coast. But unfortunately, we bring it upon ourselves because more often than not, we fall short of the mark once we get on a plane. Yeah.
Just quickly, the Adam Selwood episode was fantastic last week. If you haven't caught up with it, make sure you do. He's just such a good chat and tells some ripper yarns about the days gone by, pays tribute to Shannon Hearn, some funny stories there as well. So listen to Adam Selwood if you get the chance. But yeah, I think that's where the fury comes from a lot of supporters. And I think I was really angry after the game, and it was those same sort of adjectives that were thrown out, Dewey: soft, weak, insipid, all those things that we thought about after the Geelong game. And I think a few hours after the game when I came back home, I just leveled out a little bit. I just cooled the touch. And I went, you know what? It actually wasn't one of those games. It's a disappointing defeat. It's one we could have won. Expectations were higher during the week because of Toby Green and Hogan and Perryman going out. Our form was good, having won 3 in a row. And I think those emotions come to the boil because we are just sick of losing away. It's like, if that game's in Perth, we win it. But it's not, and so we lose it. And those things become annoying. But reflecting back on the game, we lost to a very good team. And we lost to a team who has a strength that actually goes straight up against our weakness. I don't think the Giants midfield is getting enough credit in the AFL landscape. I reckon they could easily be number 2 behind the Dogs. And we know that we have a weakness there right now without Elliot Yeo and Luke Shuey, as we've discussed numerous times. And they just smashed us in that regard. And they did try hard, the boys in there, and they just got overrun. The Giants have got 3 inside bulls now in Hopper, Ward and Tom Green, who all 3 of them have not played well up until the last month. You look at Ward's stats, he hasn't done much up until the last month. Same with Tom Green, he's gone to another level. He's a youngster. And Jacob Hopper's been pretty ordinary up until the last month. Like, he's been a sort of a B-grade midfielder at best. Now he's gone to another level. Then you go to Josh Kelly, who's back to his absolute best. We know how good he is. Lockie Whitfield's back, and Tim Taranto's been a gun for a couple of years. I mean, you're talking about a supreme midfield up against just 4 that the Eagles have: Sheed, Redden, Gaff and Kelly. And we just got overrun. And their defence competed superbly against our tall forward line that tried hard. Jack Buckley, unbelievable against Darling. Sam Taylor, brilliant against Kennedy. Not only were they good, but they were courageous on one leg, both of them late in the game. We could have held them out a little bit more. We could have broken even in the midfield. We could have been a little bit tougher in there and not let ourselves be overrun like we have done in the past. Those are fair criticisms. Yes, the team has a bit of a soft underbelly. But we came up against a really good team who actually has a lot of fight about them right now. So while it's disappointing, I don't think it's the kind of loss where you just throw things at the TV and give up on this team and their ability to win the big games. Not this game. Others maybe. I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, it doesn't send off quite the same alarm bells as the Geelong performance. That was obviously, one that you almost have to put a line through and say, it was a shocker for us. Everything went wrong. And against St Kilda, probably similar issues that we ran into where we were run over by midfield and they were probably a bit tougher. And a game that we should have won. And again, the Bulldogs game, and in the end, probably a toss of the coin as it gets late and the game's on the line. And again, we had opportunities to win. As you know, Garby, we were a kick behind with only 5 minutes to go. In my opinion, there was a major error by the umpire with a holding the ball decision. May have been Lockie Whitfield, was it? In front of goal, was tackled, should have been holding the ball. That would have been a shot for goal, Garby, to go in front. And then, who knows what happens from there. So there was just something about us all day. We were missing targets uncharacteristically, a couple of guys dropping marks in defence, just little, like we weren't as polished as we normally are with ball in hand. And that is partly because the Giants had the game on their terms. I don't think we ever really got our traditional mark and kick ball movement game going. If you look at the stats, we had over 100 less possessions than the Giants. So, at no stage did we really have control of the game in the way that we would want it to. I just got an interesting one to throw at you here, Garby. It's only the second time under Adam Simpson that we've won the contested ball stat but lost the game.
Yeah. Right.
So despite being beaten up in the midfield, we actually won contested ball only by 1. But so we essentially broke even, which hasn't been a massive strength of ours. But the Giants, the way they got to around the contests in numbers and then spread really well, that was where they got hold of us. We weren't able to match them in that area.
And they were more intense and more energetic. They had 30 more tackles, so that's not good enough. And I was calling the game, lucky enough to do so. Really enjoyed calling the Eagles. Like, what a privilege. So much fun as an Eagles fan. Yes, called it neutrally still, and maybe dealt with the loss a lot better being able to call it. Like, it's a great coping mechanism, being able to work on a game, Drewy, as you know, by just focusing on that game and not thinking about your team. So that helped a bit, I think. It was therapeutic. But I was calling with Ty Kennelly and Ryan O'Keefe, and they were just saying the Eagles don't look intense enough. They look like they're cruising a little bit. And sometimes we do have a little bit of the old Giants mantra about us. Sometimes we do think we'll rock up and our talent will win us the game. Now, I've pointed out the reasons why I think the Giants were better than us, and it's not all our own fault, but there was a little bit of that pure intensity that was missing at times in the game. And that's a shame considering the enormity of the occasion and Shannon Hearn. And you would think that would be that little bit of extra, I know it's a silly intangible to talk about, but that extra element of intensity that would come to the team and get them through a 4-quarter performance. But there wasn't that. Like, a lot of guys didn't lay big tackles. Archie, Cole, Shepherd, the tackling numbers were all down, and that's where they got us to. And that's a disappointing aspect of it. That little bit of that soft underbelly that's in the team, I think, came to the fore a touch.
You know what? It sometimes it says to me, Garby, is we have a team where there are a lot of very good complementary players who play well when conditions suit and our game plan's working and everything's clicking. That do we have that many guys who, when the going gets tough, when they need a bit of rough and tumble, do they come to the fore? Like, I look at GWS, like a Sam Reid.
Yeah.
He didn't really do anything of note with the ball yesterday, but he laid a couple of big tackles. He's a big body. He's around the ball a lot. He's doing things, the intangibles. We don't really have many players like that on our list.
We do it. The thing is, we do at Optus when we're up against a team that we should beat. Then they all do those things. But away from home, do they do it enough? No, I don't think they do. And I think that's a fair call from people who want to knock us. We don't necessarily do those things enough away from home. I'll pose this question to you too, Drewy, as well. Do we need to alter the team away from home? Because I think we go in too tall sometimes away from home. I think it works for us at Optus when we have the game on our terms, and you can play guys like Waterman and Brander, tall wingmen, and the very tall forward line, and a Bailey Williams as a second ruck, and we overpower teams. But away from home, like I thought against the Giants, we lacked a runner. Like, Waterman didn't have a great game. They played Brander as a tall mid. We've given Brander a lot of credit recently. Great. He was in cruise mode. Like, I know you weren't too far away from Bondi Brander, but you were in Bondi hipster mode for a long period in that game, and it was infuriating. Like, I don't know if the knock from Mumford hurt him a bit, but he just seemed to stop a few times, right?
Yeah, Brander had a very bad game yesterday. That was that was first 10 game of his career, Brander, unfortunately.
So I would have liked to have seen a Jermaine Jones in the team ahead of Waterman. Like Brander, you can't drop on form. So I think we lacked a runner. We lacked a ground cover player who can give you some zip and get in and under a little bit more. I think we were one player too tall in that regard. And Waterman for Jones in hindsight is the move you make. And I think at Optus we can go with that because we have the game in our terms a lot. Away from home, I think we go in too tall. I don't think we can play that many tall players away from home against good sides. We'll get exposed. We'll get run over.
Yeah, someone on Twitter, I think, made the point that Jermaine Jones is our best defensive, like pressure tackling midfielder, and we didn't play him against a team who's got, as you've pointed out, a really strong midfield. So maybe we missed the trick with Jermaine not playing. Two who I'd love to be able to plug in for every away game, Patrick McGinnity. Give me some McGinnity away from home.
That is not a name I've heard in a long, long time. Little Patrick McGinnity.
Give me him to plug in.
His big little legs. They're like big little legs, weren't they?
I remember hearing a story from a mate who used to work there because Chris Marston and Patrick McGinnity were like weirdly really good mates. And so whenever McGinnity's name came up in team meetings or when they're watching clips from the game, like Masto would sit there snorting because they call him the pig. Like when they're coming down the race, ready to run out with McGinnity back in the team, Masto's there just snorting away. But, more to the point, just to have his toughness, like to do an absolute role for the team. I don't think there was enough of that on Sunday, was there? There wasn't sacrificial, grinding, shutting out the Giants who had, they were playing good footy. We were the ones that were having to dig in. There just wasn't enough digging in.
So Liam Ryan was rusty. Shannon Hearn, Adam Simpson said that after the game, both he and Shannon Hearn. So you look at those small forwards, Ryan, Petruccelli, Archie, like they didn't give us enough. I know Petch is in the votes because I thought he did he contributed on the scoreboard, kicked a couple. We'll get to the votes in a minute, but I didn't give Petch a vote. I was asked on radio today on Sport FM, who were good friends of the show and give us a pump up, so hello to them, about Petch, and I just don't think he gets enough of it. Like, when he gets it, he makes something happen. He's kind of like the small Mitch McGovern, Drew. Like, when he gets it, he makes something happen, and we know that he adds value, and he kicks goals, and he doesn't only do it against the easy teams. He kicks goals against Port. He's kicked goals away against the Saints. He kicked 2 away to GWS. He's got pace. He creates space. But he's not touching it enough. It's like Mitch McGovern. Yeah, okay, you got all this talent, but you're only getting it 10, 11 times a game. Like, he needs to have some 20-possession games, Jack Petruccelli. And then I think he goes to the next level. So him and Archie and okay, Liam you give some grace to because it was his first game back, but they didn't give us enough, and those sorts of players had to, running through the midfield. Cripper tried, but he had a quiet game as well. Yeah,
so Archie was good for us playing those midfield minutes against Adelaide, but that was non-existent on the weekend. So Archie just has to be contributing across multiple roles unless he's going to kick 5 goals or, against the Hawks. But what he trotted out on Sunday, that's just not going to see him in the team very often, is it? So spoke to someone today who passed on some stats of note, Garby, just back on the contested ball stuff. So it was pointed out that our last quarter contested possession differential in 3 games, there's a common theme here. So against the Western Bulldogs, we got beaten by 12, so minus 12 contested ball last quarter, lose the game.
Yep.
Against St Kilda, last quarter, the last quarter and a half we were flogged, but last quarter -8. And then against Giants, -10. So we were +11 going into the last quarter against the Giants for contested ball, and we get belted in that area in the last quarter. So whether that's going, if you break that down over 4 quarters, if you're losing every quarter by 12, 8 or 10, that's an absolute smashing in contested ball. So is it the midfielders have shown for the rest of the game that they can do it. Like, we know Redden can get his hands dirty. We know Kelly can do it. He had 20 contested possessions against Adelaide. But so the last quarter, we just stopped doing it. So what's the issue?
So it's part mentality, it's part personnel. And not personnel in terms of quality, personnel in terms of numbers. Like, we have a 4-man midfield at the moment. The Giants had a 6-man midfield on the weekend. we just don't have enough runners to go through there. That's why we need Shuey and Yeo back. And Duggan, we forget about Duggan. You speak about ground coverage and link up and tackling and guys who can give you a bit of pace. And we miss Liam Duggan as well. And he's part of that midfield group now. So we just don't have the numbers through there. And then when you play probably a team that's too tall, well, that contributes as well. So I think as the game goes on, they just get overrun. And that's happened too many times to us in this season, especially away from home. So, Elliot Yeo, I was in Adam Simpson's presser after the game. And before we get on to Elliot Yeo, so I thought Simo Drewy, I don't know if you've seen the presser, but I thought he went, okay, I've smashed him after the Geelong game. I can't smash him again. So this has to be a positive response. So this has to be a play that, no, we weren't that bad. I thought the mids and the intensity was up. A couple of areas, tackling and that wasn't good enough, but I thought we just got overrun by a better team late in the game and we lost it and that's footy and we go again next week. I thought he was quite tactical in that sense, trying to give the players a lift rather than smashing them again, which may knock their confidence a bit. What was your read on that?
Yeah, we don't see the post-game smashing from Simo very often. I just think you can't play that card that many times. St Kilda have played it 4 times in 6 weeks, and I don't think that it's to anyone's benefit. Yeah. So, yeah, that's normally what happens. So it didn't surprise me. I think we've been around this block before. Like, this is not new. Apart from 2018, this has been common for West Coast over the last decade. Yeah. Away from home, this is not a surprising performance. No,
and we've discussed the reasons why. Do they have enough leaders? Do they have enough people who are willing to, put the pressure on others? Maybe not. So, and maybe Shuey and Yeo are the 2 keys in that regard. Shuey, the captain who can have the chat. Yeo, who's just a bull who drags players with him, like others do as well, like a Kelly does, but they were just missing some personnel through there. So, yep, I think we've done a fair job of trying to break down where it went wrong. Before we get on to the votes, the Elliot Yeo discussion is a fair one and an important one for the Eagles right now. So Adam Simpson said after the game, if he's right on Monday after playing in the Waffle and he's pulled up without any problems, we'll have a chat about playing him against Essendon. Do you think there's any chance of that whatsoever? Let's say he did pull up well today. We don't know. But let's say he pulled up fine and said, Simo, I feel great. I'm ready to go. Do you reckon there's any chance he plays?
I don't think he'll play this week, but do you think there's any part of West Coast that will just err on the side of caution, even if it's by 1 week, just because of the Shuey stuff? It's like, let's not rush him back, even though he's not rushing back from a soft tissue, right? The reason that he wouldn't be playing is because he's not match fit enough. Like, he hasn't got enough running under his belt. And second up's hardest. So, but then do they play him as the guy who only plays 60% match time?
Yeah, but that's a risk. Like, we'll get into the Bombers in a moment, but they're going okay. Yeah. Like, it's a danger game coming up on Saturday night.
He's a pretty bloody good player, though.
He's really good. So, and maybe just he knows that it's been hard on the 4 guys in there to keep matching it with really good midfields. Do they just need a big name, big body to go through there against the Bombers, even if he only plays 65% game time? I think they give him another week regardless of how he feels. I think they'll entertain the thought.
Yeah.
I think he wants to bring him back, but I think regardless of how he feels, they'll err on the side of caution and he'll spend another week in the Waffle and come back after that. So who knows, though? It's going to be like the number 1 selection topic in the AFL this week if Elliot Yeo is named. I mean, he hasn't played since round 11 last season. It's a serious layoff.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. And look, either way, it's great that he's going to be back soon. But I don't think they'll pull the trigger, but it's a possible one.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting for us. He adds an extra dimension. Almost all of the things that we've been saying that we miss, he brings to the table. So, and it seems as though Shuey's still a while away. So to get Yeo back into the team and to expand that midfield group, which, as you say, they must be, a little bit tired, a little bit banged up. It's been the same pretty much 4 guys for a few weeks now. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be the number 1 story in Perth this week, isn't it? It's just Elliot Yeo watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Film it through the fence, because they rarely give you the chance to film Yeo. In the last year, I reckon on Fox Sports News, we've only had fresh pictures of Yeo like 3 times. It's just it's so hard to catch him in action.
We'll wait and see what they do in that case. Let's go through the votes then from the weekend. So thanks for all your submissions again. I think we sprung it on you a little bit quick this week, but that's okay. We had an early recording, so if you didn't get around to doing the votes, we apologise, but we got enough in there for a fair sample size. I'll give my 5-1 first this week, Drewy. So I went 5 Tim Kelly. I thought he worked really hard, and I thought his quality was good. He kicked a big goal. He kept going. 4-quarter performance. His link-up was excellent, so I thought he was our best. Nick Natanui 4. So I thought they actually beat him in the first half, Flynn and Mumford. Flynn's actually a good player. You can see why they've kept him on the list for 5 years or 6 years and only played 6 games, because he's actually got something about him. So they went in the double team on Nick. First half, I reckon they got the better of him, and then I loved watching Nick respond in the third quarter, and then the last quarter was pretty even. But, you know, his third quarter response was fantastic, and his ruck work was excellent. He worked hard all day, so he gets the 4. Redden the 3, tried really hard, linked up a lot, got overrun like a few of the others, but I thought his work ethic was fantastic. I gave Tom Barras 2. I thought he was our best defender, competed well, took a few big intercept marks. I know that Finlayson got on top of him, but I thought he led the defence better than anyone else, and a few others were really down back there, and he shone in that regard. And probably a similar argument for Oscar Allen. I thought he was our best forward. Darling got well held by Buckley. Nothing against Jack's game. I thought his work ethic was fine. Buckley just played really well on him. It happens. Sam Taylor just played really well on Kennedy. It happens. He's a class defender. I thought Allen was the best forward, so he got the 1 vote. But it was a tough game to give votes for, in a weird game, and we had an odd spread of players. Like, guys who I didn't think deserved a vote got like 3 votes from other people. It was a weird one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go the other way here. So I went 1 for Petrocelli, who I just think, I don't know, we got the ball, he actually looked good. Like, a lot of our players made mistakes and played below their best. But when Petrocelli got the ball, I thought things were going to happen. And he's improving. I know you said he doesn't get enough of the ball, but he's on the right track. 2 for Redden, fought hard all day, did his best to match it with guys who were physically bigger than stronger than he was. He can be out of his weight range a little bit, but he was good yesterday. I thought Gaff was good. I know you didn't give him a vote. I thought, the work rate was good, plenty of the ball, relatively the Gaff that we know. Kelly 4, he's obviously been exceptional for us over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and he was good again yesterday. I just thought Nick was by far and away our best player. Cool. And I thought I just thought maybe him and Kelly and a couple of others sometimes, but Nick was the one player on the ground who I thought showed the required endeavour and the required intensity to actually win that game. Yeah. There weren't many Eagles out there that did that, but I thought Nick did.
Yeah. It's actually, looking at the photos after the game when Shannon Hearn's being chaired off, like, Shannon didn't want to be chaired off, but I think he recognised it was an enormous achievement, and he probably should, and it was probably fitting of the moment. And they did the right thing, so well done for cheering him off. But you could see Nick's face, he had a face like thunder, And I mean, look, sometimes you look at photos and you read between the lines too much, but he really gets dirty after defeats. And maybe a few others, I don't know, just a little bit laissez-faire about it all. And he's one of those guys who's got that real mongrel about him. We saw it in the doco, like in the final siren goes, we lose a game. It's like, oh, fuck. And it's like, I hate losing kind of thing. And, do enough guys have that? I'm not sure. So, he's got that about him at the moment, which is great. I think we need a few more, to be honest, to go with him in that regard.
So what I've noticed, Garby, and I'm sure you have as well, is that Nick is almost always our best player when we lose. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Nick's the one who really badly wants this team to get back to where we were in 2018, to be a contender. He wants to win a flag, and he wants to taste the ultimate success. He's been through more adversity than most players on the West Coast list, but he's the one that has to essentially put up with below par, not intense enough performances like we saw on Sunday. So I don't think it's any shock to see Gaff, Shepherd and Nick often in our best when we lose, because they're the ones who want it more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just hope that everyone can match the intensity that Nick showed. Like that running bounce when he stole it from the stoppage and ran away from Flynn and passed a couple, that's about as good as it gets as a West Coast fan, seeing Nick in full flight. It's great to see.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So, all right, we've done the votes. Give us the tally, Truza. What are the numbers this week?
So Nick got 69. Only one person didn't give him 5, and that was you, Garby. Kelly, 42. Redden, 31. Petch, 26. And Gaff, 17. So there's your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nick Nat, Kelly, Redden, Petrocelli, and Andrew Gaff.
So that means that Tim Kelly goes into the lead on his own in the Ness medal. He is on 21. We have Jack Darling on 20. Nick Natanui goes into third outright on 15. Oscar Allen and Tom Barras on 13. Andrew Gaff on 12. Dom Sheed on 8. Jack Redden on 7. And Petrocelli on 7. His output's amazing, Petch. For like 2 good games, he's on 7 votes alongside someone like Jack Redden on 7, who's like absolutely been smashed every single week in the middle. Petch has had like his couple of cruisy games and he's on the same amount of votes. Funny the way it works. But Tim Kelly with the lead on 21, Darling 20, Nick now 15 in third, Oscar and Barras on 13, Gaff 12, Sheed 8, Redden and Petch on 7. So that's the Ness medal as it stands.
So, Garby, this is a question I wanted to pose to you. Did we show on the weekend this, or did we already know this, that we are outside of that top echelon of teams? We're the level below.
I think we already knew that. I think the 3 wins in a row gave us hope that we were back in the top echelon, but they weren't against sides that were good enough. So, no, I think we are exactly where I thought we would be, which is a top 8 side, but outside that big group, which is a big group. I think the top 8 will be Richmond, who are currently in 9th, and Richmond in for the Sydney Swans, and that's how it will stay. I think the Giants make the 8. I know they've lost Sam Taylor now for 6 to 8 weeks, which is a blow, but like they're a good team, and they've got good players to come back. And they've got some fight about them, which perhaps we haven't given them credit for. So I think we're in the 8, but we'll be 5 to 8. And then we just got to hope that we can, that's my opinion right now as it stands. Our stars come back and we peak at the back end of the season and we can jag a couple finals and find ourselves, somehow in a prelim or something.
Yeah, that's really, I think, what we're hanging our hat on now is that we need Shuey and Yeo back fit and firing and hope that we can maybe jag a home final in 5th or 6th and then go on a bit of a run, do a Bulldogs, let's do a Giants of 2019 and get ourselves to a grand final. It's possible if you're in form at the right time.
We've got the quality, right? And so the Bombers this week, let's get onto that one. I mean, we got Ryan and Hearn back in the team last week. Now, both looked rusty. Like Liam Ryan did not seem right to come back. Shannon Hearn didn't have a good game, but they'll be better for the run. And that makes us, a far more dangerous side. I'm worried about this game against the Bombers, Drewy.
Okay.
So I really am. I think it's got danger game written all over it. I think Essendon are one of these teams. They're going to be inconsistent all year because they've got a lot of young players. But you can just see they'll say to themselves, we've got absolutely nothing to lose. Like, where are we at this season on expectations? We're probably just above par. Like, no one's expecting us to make the 8. We've got quality young players. We can go on a run in the next 2-3 years. Let's go to Perth and just give it a crack. Like, these guys have got a little bit of doubt about them. If things aren't going well, they can get run over. They've got a good midfield, Merritt, Parrish, McGrath, who are going nicely, and then some young players who I think will just relish going to Perth and having some fun. Don't get me wrong, I think we'll win. I'll be tipping us, but it's real, as we say in football, banana peel type game, banana skin type game. It's like that cup tie you can slip up in. I'm worried about Saturday night and the Bombers potentially causing an upset.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Our biggest issue right now is D Parrish and Z Merritt. Like, they're both in stellar form, particularly Parrish, who has gone to an absolute new level. Their mids are in cracking form and ours are just getting by, So, and that's an area of the game that it's shown that teams can get hold of us. So, between Parrish, Andrew McGrath, and Zach Merritt, that trio is going to be really hard for us to contain. They don't have the quality at the bookends that we do. So if we can show that, and early on against the Giants, we weren't getting it forward as much, but we were making the most of our opportunities. So that's what we have to do. At Optus, you would back us to probably up the supply, and move the ball a bit better, have the game on our terms a bit more. But Essendon, they've been really consistent with their messaging, which is that they're a blue collar team. They want to work hard. They want to be in every game. They haven't really been blown away at any stage. So it's not going to be an easy one. But you'd hope the quality, sort of shows through and shines through across the 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think it will do, and I think we'll win, but it's just they can't be off. They can't be off their game because the Bombers will grow into that, let's just cause an upset, lads. No one's giving us a hope in hell here. And they've got a bit of confidence about them. They've got a little bit of zip about them right now. So, yeah, a little bit cautious about it, but hopefully it goes our way. We've certainly got the quality to dominate them up forward and hopefully we make some changes that I think give us a little bit more zip. So what changes does Simo make? Let's not forget, we've still got big guns out. Jeremy McGovern's a 4-time All-Australian defender. Harry Edwards, we like what he's about, but he had a poor game. He just didn't get near it, unfortunately. So what changes can you see? I think Edwards stays in the team. I think Jones comes in for probably Archie. Definitely. Does he bring Langdon back for maybe a Waterman, or does he stay with the tall Waterman, Brander wing option because now we're playing at Optus? What changes do you reckon he might make?
Yeah, I think Jones for Archie would make sense. If there is an issue right now in terms of the freshness of the midfield, then do you look at a Xavier O'Neill or at an Ainsworth, or give someone an actual opportunity to play? These guys who are playing midfield in the reserves to come in and actually play midfield as opposed to coming in and playing high half forward or whatever. So do they bring in a genuine mid to bring into the mix to give those guys a bit of a chop out, or, play Sheed and rotate Kelly through half forward, or, change things up a little bit? I'll be interested to see, there's a number of guys who will feel they underperformed, whether they're allowed to bounce back. Particularly like a Brander, like a Bailey Williams, who he didn't really get himself into the game too much. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think the Yeo one is that's the wild card, but I think we're both leaning towards him not playing.
Yeah. So Nelson did get dropped last week, so they did make that call, which we sort of anticipated would be the way they would go. Felt sorry for him, didn't do much wrong. So if Witherden's back, I think it's Witherden for Nelson and Jones for Archie, and then maybe one more. And if there's one more, then it's Yeo if he plays, or an O'Neill, or a Zane True to give another midfielder in there. And then who's the other player that goes out if they do make that call? It's probably Jake Waterman. It's probably Jake Waterman, and we freshen up a little bit and put another midfield hard runner in there and sacrifice one of those talls and just go that way and try and give Kelly and Gaff and Redden and Sheed a bit more of a chop out. I think that might be the smarter play. Rather than saying we're going to have the game in our terms and anticipating that, say, no, we can't risk the midfielders being overrun. They've done it for so long on their own all season. We're hitting the halfway point now. Give them a chop out in this game. Sorry, Jake, we just need another runner through there. Archie, you haven't been good enough, so Jones is in for you, and Witherden for Nelson. They'd be the 3 changes I'd probably make.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. If you want to balance things out and bring in the extra midfielder, then you've got to sacrifice somewhere. And maybe in an ideal world, Oscar Allen would play as a second ruck, but I think he's probably a little bit too banged up, so they can't afford to do that. So probably Williams stays in.
That's true. And Bailey's playing well. Like, he's doing a good job. And I think ultimately we'll be better off with that 3-pronged attack. That's going to serve us better in the long run. Did it against the Giants away? No, but Oscar's battling on with that elbow problem anyway. So, no, I think we stay with that. And I think everyone's really enjoying what Bailey Williams is doing. Like, he's got a lot about him, which is exciting. So that'd be the changes I make. Let us know what you think, Nest family, on Twitter and so on, and get into the chat and respond to some of the things we've said. And let's have a bit of dialogue on there, Drewy. But I think that just about does us for this week.
Yeah, it's a big game. It should be a good one. Essendon versus West Coast. There's a bit of history to this one. The jacket waving and Kevin Sheedy and Mitchell White. So we've played them in a few finals over the years. I always look forward to playing Essendon. I like beating them.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of Essendon.
Oh, I can't stand Essendon. Mate,
A lot of Bombers fans in my life. So I enjoy beating the Bombers and sending a few texts out.
There's a moment that gets lost in the Eagles-Bombers rivalry. Like, it's all about the jacket waving, and that's great. But the Dustin Fletcher, and I love Dustin Fletcher. He's a champion bloke, and he's good on Twitter, and he's a really nice guy. But the Dustin Fletcher trip on Chris Judd in that final, I think infuriated me as much as anything as an Eagles fan over the years. That really annoyed me because I think it hurt Juddy. We lost that final. That really got me going. So there's been a few spiteful moments that we've had with the Bombers over the journey, and there's a little bit of a rivalry there, which is nice. And we beat them in a final a couple of years ago, which is something that we certainly enjoyed. So hopefully we do the job over them again on Saturday night and get back to winning ways.
Well, don't forget, Zach Merritt grabbed Nick Nat's dreadlocks and nearly died because Nick Nat picked him up and threw him into the hoardings. Zach Merritt nearly left in a body bag. I don't think he'll be doing that again.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But he's going well at the moment, so we need to find a way to shut him down. We'll see what work they try and put into Zach Merritt on Saturday night, because he's one of the best midfielders in the competition without a doubt. Drury, thank you, mate. Have a good week. Let's hope we have a win on Saturday night, and then we can start heading into the bye in a slightly better way, and we get our big guns back.
Thanks, Garby. It's been cathartic. Let's get back on track.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.